Good morning and welcome to Gospel Bytes, where we take a bite of the Gospel for the day. Today is Monday, March 18th. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. Glory to you, O Lord. This is taken from John chapter 8, verses 1 to 11. Jesus went to the Mount of Olives, but early in the morning he arrived again in the temple area, and all the people started coming to him, and he sat down and taught them. Then the scribes and the Pharisees brought a woman who had been caught in adultery, and made her stand in the middle. They said to him, "Teacher, this woman was caught in the very act of committing adultery. Now in the law, Moses commanded us to stone such women. So what do you say?" They said this to test him so that they could have some charge to bring against him. Jesus bent down and began to write on the ground with his finger. But when they continued asking him, he straightened up and said to them, Let the one among you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her." Again he bent down and wrote on the ground, and in response they went away one by one, beginning with the elders. So he was left alone with the woman before him. Then Jesus straightened up and said to her, "Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you?" She replied, "No one, sir." Then Jesus said, "Neither do I condemn you. Go, and from now on, do not sin anymore." The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. Today we hear about this story of this woman caught in adultery. At the same time, in the first reading, we hear the story of Susanna, who was innocent, but was accused of committing adultery. And so these two women were, they said, were caught in adultery, which is very surprising because in the law of Moses, when someone is caught in adultery, both the woman and the man will be stoned to death. And you might want to ask, where are the men in these stories? So just as these nobles plotted to accuse Susanna, maybe in the gospel they were trying to set up this woman as well, who was supposedly caught in adultery. Because where is the man? No? If she was caught, then the man should be there. Now, in the story, they came to test Jesus. If Jesus would have said, "Okay, stone her to death," they would say, "What about your teaching on love and forgiveness and all that?" And then if Jesus said, "Okay, then don't stone her," they would say, "Then you're breaking the law, because the law says that she must be punished." Now Jesus, in response, wrote on the ground. Doesn't say what he wrote, but some theologians say that just as the Ten Commandments were written by the very finger of God, here Jesus is showing that he is the law. He is the lawgiver. Again, he's writing with his fingers that you're supposed to listen to me because I am the same God who wrote on those tablets, and I'm writing this law. And Jesus is not changing the law. He was just probably revealing who he was, the lawgiver. Now, Jesus said, "Whoever does not have any sin, be the first to cast a stone." You can understand in these two ways. The first one means that we're all sinners, so we should not judge anyone. Actually, it's not judge, but it's condemn. We are supposed to speak against any evil that is present. But we cannot condemn someone and say, "Well, you're a bad person, you're going to hell." No, we can point out to them the sin that they've committed. And judgment will belong to God. No, condemnation belongs to God. But for us to say that stealing is wrong, adultery is wrong, and you tell your son or your daughter, "Well, you don't go to mass and that's wrong." Because during those times, if you don't go to worship on the Sabbath, that's punishable by death too. So people have misunderstood understood or misused this verse. They even twist Pope Francis's terms on who am I to judge, because they think that since we're all sinners, then we should allow all people to sin. We should just mind our own business and just keep quiet. No, that's not what Jesus is saying. He's saying you're not supposed to condemn. No? That's why we don't stone to death those who have committed adultery anymore. Those who are committing fornication, those who are living outside of marriage, we don't stone them to death. Those who don't go to mass on Sundays, we don't kill them anymore. But that doesn't mean it's not a sin anymore, because at the very end, Jesus said that, go and sin no more. No? But Jesus did say, whoever has no sin be the first to condemn or to cast a stone, meaning to punish these people. Punishment is not for us. God is going to punish them, but to admonish the sinner, that is a spiritual act of mercy. When you see your brother or sister committing a sin, then it is your duty as a brother, as a Christian, to remind them of the state of or the gravity of that sin. There's another gospel that says he will be punished for what he's done, but if you don't warn him, his blood is on your hands. So we are responsible for them, to remind them. It doesn't say that just leave them to their own demise. Lead them. If they're going to hell, then leave them alone, or they're not going to hell at all. We just tell them that this is what the law, or this is what the Bible says, and if you listen to us or not, then I don't judge if you're a good person or not, but what you're doing is wrong. That becomes an objective thing to do, and a duty for every Christian. And some people are afraid to say anymore, because it's almost like if I say to my children, well, you should be going to mass, and then they could tell you, who are you? If I was a drug addict and I know the effects of drugs on myself, I would even be in that position to tell my children or my friends, say, I've been through that. I can tell you, you should not take that. It's out of concern of genuine love to admonish the sinner, not to condemn them. Okay, but there is another interpretation that I see with this statement of Jesus: whoever has no sin, cast the first stone. You see, that woman, probably she was set up, or we don't know, but Jesus was asking all these people around him, are you, who among you are not implicated in this woman's sin? No, we're all responsible for each other, so maybe we are all responsible for her sin. For example, maybe there was a time when she came to you asking for help, and she couldn't, you just ignored her. So she went to this man, and she found help from him. Or maybe she was lonely. She was looking for someone to talk to, and you just ignored her. And so she found this man who paid attention to her, and so they ended up committing adultery. So, in other words, Jesus was asking them, who among you is not part of her sin? And sometimes we should recognize that when we look at people's sins, especially even the state of the society today, ask yourself, or let's ask ourselves, maybe I'm part of the problem. Maybe I caused that as well. If your children ever comes to mass, before you condemn them, before you judge them, think, maybe I spoiled them, maybe I never invited them, maybe I never went myself, maybe they never saw a good example in me. That's why they grew up like that. Or someone, let's say a man committed adultery, and then the woman is so furious, but maybe because she was nagging and suspecting that all the time, accusing him all the time, and finally he got tired and did commit adultery. Or a woman who goes and gambles a lot. Maybe it's because her husband never paid attention to her, never had time for her, so she had to look for some form of escape or entertainment. And the point is, we could be responsible for other people's sins. You know, the state of the society today could be because of our silence. People have become silent. When you have your son or daughter living in fornication or living together outside of marriage, did you say anything? Did you remind them that it's sinful? Or maybe we just kept quiet and said, well, you're all grown ups and we're in modern times now. Then maybe that's the problem. So we could be all implicated in the sins of the people around us. And so that was a question of Jesus. Before you condemn them, did you even bother to tell them that it's wrong? When people tell me, "Oh, Father, these people are not supposed to receive Holy Communion because they're not married," and I used to ask them, "But did you tell them? Before you condemn, maybe you should tell them. You should remind them. Otherwise, don't expect people to live perfect lives when we ourselves don't tell them, don't remind them of how to live a holy life." There was a story of Padre Pio, and one time I always tell this story of this woman who went to him for confession. Padre Pio has this gift of seeing the soul of his penitents, and this woman came up to him, and she knelt, and before she even started, Padre Pio started screaming, said, "Criminal, criminal!" And the woman got scared and she ran away. Padre Pio chased her, and she asked him, "Why were you calling me criminal? You don't know me." And Padre Pio said, "Because of you, two of your sons are rotting in hell." You know? And that's why I always tell people, before you gossip about anyone, before you gossip about priests or you gossip about everybody, think about yourself. And I said, if I have no time to be concerned with the scandals of these or that or those people, I have to think of the things I've done before God, because I have to answer. They will have to answer to God for what they've done. I'll have to answer to God for what I have done. So it's it's the lesson today is to recognize our role in the propagation of evil or the propagation of good. We could be the ones who are promoting good or evil, and so we have to look into ourselves and see the causes or the result or the effects of our neglect, the effects of our goodwill. We can either promote good or evil. Which one are you promoting today? I'm Father Jerry Sembrano for another edition of Gospel Bites. God bless you and have a nice day.